The Hood River Valley is a relatively small valley. It has about 14,000 acres of tree fruits right now and another about that same amount of other cropland. My grandfather came in 1909 and settled in the upper valley right underneath Mount Hood. Spent his first winter here, winter in 1909-1910, in a wall tent and 3 or 4 feet of snow. I've been here now 35 years, growing pears and raised my kids here, and it's really a beautiful place to live. I first met Ralph and Chris back in about 2002 when Hood River County did a land trade with Mount Hood Meadows. It gave them 700-800 acres of land on the north side of Mount Hood where they wanted to develop a destination resort, and they actually were going to build the whole thing right in the middle of the Crystal Springs watershed, which serves most of the Hood River Valley. In an area right at the foot of Mount Hood, it would have all been paved and developed, and gas stations and shops and condominiums. We didn't see much positive about it, and we wanted to figure out a way to stop it. We were very discouraged, though, after we'd talked to several law firms and thought, this is not going anywhere. We don't really have any leverage. We may lose this. That's when we found Crag. They were very helpful. So we talked to Ralph and Chris, and they studied the issue and said they could do something. Back in 2002, I think Ralph and Chris were really just kind of getting started, and I'm not sure they exactly knew what they were doing, but they were ready to try anything. When we thought maybe we had no case at all, they came in and sued Hood River County and Mount Hood Meadows.
There had been decades of dispute, and dispute is putting it lightly, between citizens in Hood River County and Mount Hood Meadows over future development plans and what the north side of the mountain should look like. We
worked on a settlement and came to an agreement where Mount Hood Meadows would trade for a piece of forest land on government camp side of Mount Hood.
Hearing news that there was a potential agreement in the works, that was as much of a driver for legislation and congressional action as any.
When we started this process to push back on the destination resort, we only hoped it would be a local land use decision that would deny it. And we didn't realize that if we continued through mediation, we might get a permanent solution, which is to try to get them to the south side and leave the whole north side protected.
When you're going to Congress with something that impacts public policy, you have to demonstrate that you are acting in the public interest for the United States of America and its citizens. How you demonstrate that? One way is to build a lot of local support. I think it was my boss who had the idea of, let's do a hike on the Timberline Trail around the mountain. We were going to have a dozen different stakeholders that we had been meeting with and had sort of become our key allies and advisors. Hike in and meet us at various places around the mountain. That hike put it in our hearts that we wanted to leave a legacy for future generations. And that's what wilderness protection and settling decades of land use disputes on the mountain could help to do. Well, with that, legislation was drafted. Passing a bill is a long process, constant communication, emails, late nights, early mornings. We're constantly having to check back in with Crag. Crag provided the expertise, the knowledge, the ability to communicate with their stakeholder group and keep those folks on board.
If we hadn't engaged Crag, I think it's very likely that there would be a destination resort on this side of Mount Hood. We would have lost a really special side of Mount Hood that's still a natural area that a lot of people go to backcountry recreate winter and summer, a special agricultural area. Crag helped us protect all of that.
I think one of the most significant things about this land exchange is that after decades of fighting over land use issues, there was a way to find and build that trust and to keep that trust. And that is what helps this agreement stick together, even as we're continuing to push for the final piece.